Maybe I'm just a sucker for blue flowers, but I'm not the only one because pollinators love this plant. I'm counting at least 4 bumblebees. This plant is glorious. And pollinators, actually I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got 5 bumblebees in my vision right now. Not sure if you can see them or not. There's 2 down in here, and there's several over here. There's 1. It's really hard to see them, especially with the wind. Gorgeous, gorgeous plant. But isn't that flower beautiful? The Oh So Easy roses, the Oh So Easy reds, never stop blooming. Literally from spring until frost. I don't even think they had a lull. They just are constant bloomers. Very similar to the red double knockouts. The foliage is super clean. I've not sprayed them or done anything to them. I don't even think I fertilized them. You can just see they're just absolutely gorgeous. Another plant that just does not stop blooming once it starts in the spring is this apricot drift rose. I've shown it in several of my videos, and I have not deadheaded it. It would look so much prettier if I came in and removed these spent flowers, which you could do in a matter of probably 10 minutes and really clean it up. But we're in the middle of harvest, and so I just have not had time to do much in the way of maintenance on these plants. But I am in love with the color of these blooms. They're so many different shades of pink and peach and apricot on this one plant. If you look here, you can see the warm tones of the apricot, but then on another bloom you might see more of the pink, cool pinks. And the little buds are precious. They are the cutest little things. Look at that little guy. And the foliage is beautiful. It's clean, it's shiny, dark green. It is an amazing rose, and it does not get very tall. 3.5 feet really is about the max. Of course, my bubblegum petunias are doing great. My David Austin Queen of Sweden rose that I just planted a few months ago as a bare root back in April. It was just a little bitty nothing. I'm sorry, my voice. I have laryngitis because the corn is so dusty and we've been harvesting that it has really messed up my sinuses. So I apologize, I sound so horrible. But look at that beautiful, beautiful rose. And it's only in its very first season, so I expected the next year and then the following year it to be absolutely stunning. One of my favorite trees is this blue ice Arizona cypress, which it's marginal for our hardiness zone. I want to think this is a zone 7A. It might be a 6B. But when I planted this last year, not this past spring, but the spring before, it was probably about 3.5 feet tall. The trunk was probably no bigger than my thumb. And now the trunk of this tree is at least 1.5 inch diameter. It has quintupled probably in size. I estimate it's at least 6.5, close to 7 feet tall. Rapid grower, but the coolest part is this amazing silver blue foliage. And it contrasts really nicely with the sunshine ligustrum. So when you compare the two, they're just a beautiful companion for each other. But it was a test. I did plant it on the south side of this building. This is the south side, so it's protected from any north winds blowing this direction. But if you are in zone 6B or warmer, I strongly encourage you to get one of these blue ice Arizona cypress, but give it plenty of room. Don't plant it up against your house, because I think it gets pretty wide. And I've seen videos where people have planted these too close to the home. The plants don't do well. They need full-blown sun, like all day long sun. So this is a perfect spot where I have it, because it's the south side and the sun comes up here and it goes down over here. So it's literally in the sun pretty much all day long. So, but I am in love with it. It does have a scent. If you rub the foliage, it's a very evergreen kind of scent. I like it. I like it. I think it's a very fresh smell. Sort of like a pine, but a little different. Anyway, I absolutely adore this tree. The Midnight Marvel hardy hibiscus is just beautiful. It really has not stopped blooming once it started blooming, and it's just kept going. It had a little bit of a lull, and then it just started forth again. But you can see how beautiful these blooms are, and it's just loaded with them. And it's still got more, that will be coming. I even think the little, I don't know what you call that, the flower brack, but I even think that's kind of neat. Once the flower falls off, it leaves this. And I think that's kind of pretty in its own way. But this bush is huge. It's probably now 6 feet from over on this side all the way over. It's just, it's huge. And at least the tallest little branch there is as tall as my head, and I'm 5'3.5". So it's pretty huge bush. The yellow freedom rose that I got from Spring Hill Nursery is looking really pretty right now. It's just the sweetest buttery yellow. The newer blooms, the younger blooms, are more of a bright sunny yellow, and it fades to this more of a buttery yellow. Isn't that a pretty bloom? This is the yellow freedom rose. I believe this is exclusive to the Spring Hill Nursery. But look at this sweet bud. Isn't that sweet? I just think they're so pretty. It's a very healthy rose. It doesn't have any, I have not treated it at all, and it doesn't have any black spot or really anything. You can see how clean the foliage is. This is the new growth. But I like this rose. It does get pretty tall. It gives at least, 4.5 feet tall. And I did prune it back. So there's some old spent blooms here. But it's an older bloom. But you can cut it all the way back and it will come all out again, and you can cut it back and it'll come out again. It just loves to produce, and it's healthy, but it's not in a good location. I definitely need to move it because it's too close to our walkway here, and it tends to want to send branches over and it can snag you. This is the Forever Goldie arborvitae, and I just love it. I planted it, was super small, and in the last couple years it has just really taken off. Right now it comes up to probably about to my chest, and yeah, so it's not quite up to my chest, but close. But it is just beautiful inside. It's this dark, beautiful green, and the tips are, this is sunny yellow, and we have had some horrible humidity and heat, and it has not phased it one bit. There's no burning on it. The more sun it gets, the more yellow the tips are. But it is a awesome, beautiful arborvitae. I'm just making sure the tag is still here. Yeah. So the Forever Goldie, it makes a really nice specimen up against something that's blue and red. And I have a kind of a weeping blue spruce here. It's just very young. And then I have the red Japanese maple here. And of course it's September, so the leaves are not the vibrant red that they were. It's sort of, kind of faded out to the more of the green. But it should be beautiful this fall. So the Forever Goldie is a wonderful option. You can see that my hostas back here that were once just glorious, beautiful chartreuse, the heat just really wreaked havoc on them. So those are the coast to coast, and they are a beautiful hosta, but this time of year they get just so tired of all the heat and humidity. So if you look at some of the more protected leaves underneath there, there's still a beautiful chartreuse. And if you look at the one that's kind of hiding back here where it's been more shaded, the leaves are still a beautiful chartreuse. Very little of the browning, but this one gets sun, quite a bit of sun. So just a quick look at this magnolia. I believe this is a southern magnolia, and it gets to be a really large tree. And it can only be grown in fairly warm climates. However, we had an Arctic blast a couple of winters ago. This tree has been here for probably 6 or 7 years now. Maybe more like 7 or 8 years. One of the first trees we planted when we moved here, and it has the gorgeous big dinner plate or larger size, very, very fragrant blooms on it. Actually, it's had blooms on it throughout the whole summer. But then it puts forth this really neat seed pod. And when that seed pod matures, it's the brightest little red berries. Here's an example of an old one that it's probably from even maybe a year ago. But those are the seeds. And the leaves on this thing look artificial. They're so shiny and so healthy. And on the flip side is this beautiful teddy bear brown, fuzzy background. So it provides a really nice contrast when you're looking at it. It just gives the tree a lot of to me a lot of dimension, but it is an awesome tree. So I know that this tree can survive very cold temperatures because we had a negative 31 wind chill, and the normal ambient temperature or standalone temperature, not counting wind chill, was a negative 4. And this tree, this is the north, so this tree had zero protection from intense north winds, and it did not damage the tree at all. So, you know, if you're not sure if you're a zone 6, certainly if you're a zone 7, I know you can grow these. But zone 6A, I think if it was in a protected location, maybe on the south side of a building or something, I think you probably would be surprised that it would survive. But I just think the magnolia trees are stunning. Now, the complaint that people have that have a lot of these, because they're very common in the South, is they do shed their leaves. And so you get these pretty large leaves on the ground, and they're very hard. But I just mow around the whole tree, blowing the leaves up underneath it, and just kind of let it serve as mulch. But I love this magnolia tree, and I just don't think it gets a lot of attention. Maybe because people in the South are just bored with them. But I think people even as far north as zone 6. And since all of our zones are sort of changing, people that were zone 5 are now like zone 6. I encourage those of you who were maybe not able to even think about growing a magnolia to consider it. And there's all kinds of different smaller varieties that you can grow that doesn't get quite this large, because these southern magnolias can get huge. So anyway, I love this tree, and I think it is a gorgeous, it's just a gorgeous foliage. Look at that. And around, well, any time of the year, not just Christmas, but you can cut these limbs off in there, and you can set these on your mantle or like on your dining room table. And there's a lot of bird poop on it. But you can set these little small branches around, and they really provide a beautiful look surrounding like a flower arrangement or a centerpiece for your dining room table. I've used them several times, and I think it's just adds to the beauty of anything else that you put around it. This is the forest pansy redbud that I planted year before last. It's gone through one winter, and it was just like one stick, and it is now probably 8 feet tall. It has sent out all these new branches. You can see those two, that's new, and then these two here are new. So this spring I will probably prune those back because they're just a little bit too long and gangly. But it has just really taken off. The thing about this tree is I have given it no supplemental watering. It's on no irrigation. The first year I tried to be faithful and come out here and plant it during the dry spell, but we have had about 3 weeks of no rain, not even a sprinkle, and this tree is doing great. Like I said, you can see all this new growth on it. So it is a very strong tree. And again, this is the forest pansy redbud. So super, super healthy and strong tree. But it does look like it likes to send out a bunch of wild branches. So we'll prune those back, and we'll see if we can't get it to send some lateral shoots out and fill it out a little bit. The phenomenal lavender that I cut back pretty hard, you can see it is pretty much filled out. You can't even tell where I pruned it. It is a beautiful silvery green foliage. and that will stay green all winter long. It'll be more of a silvery color. The blue chiffon rose of Sharon has not stopped blooming once it started, and it's putting out as many blooms right now as it did when it first started. It lulled a little bit during the extreme heat, and it kind of was producing blooms. It didn't have the little center little petals, but now this new flush has got those center petals. Every one of them does. This little double, I guess you call that like double petals, but look at this branch. It's just covered with blooms, all sides of it. It's absolutely gorgeous. These plants are super easy to tree form or make into a standard. It's still loaded with buds. This is a beautiful Rose of Sharon, proven winners, blue chiffon. Here's a branch that's got 5 little buds on it.